Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, Dr. Coker, with the program Bible Explains It All. Today, we are discussing and analyzing all the future leadership we are just going to elect in few more days. We are analyzing all the leadership through the biblical lens for you to make a good choice on your future. Now, most of the time, again, this is Dr. Coker from Dallas, Texas, from the beautiful city, Dallas, Texas. Thank you very much and welcome to the program. Most of the time, among the Christian circles, there is a discussion if God approves democracy or not. In order to answer that question, so I'm just going to take you to Deuteronomy chapter number 1, is 13 through 15. It says this: choose some wise, understanding, respected men from each of your tribes, and I will set them over you. You answered me, what you propose to do is good. So I took the leading men of your tribes. Listen to this carefully, it's great. Leading men of your tribes, wise and respected men, and appointed them to have authority over you as commanders of thousands, of hundreds, of fifties, and of tens and thousands of tribal officials. Tens and as tribal officials, I'm sorry. Now, it is clear when God is saying that choose those wise men among you who are understanding and they understand that how the system runs. So choosing means democracy. Choosing means you just go and vote for those people. So yes, in Christianity, democracy is there and there's a room for democracy. But now when you go to Socrates, I don't know, most of the people, they know who Socrates is. Socrates is a Greek philosopher. And if you read the Socrates, he's very ambivalent about the democracy. According to Socrates, in the dialogues of Plato, the founding father, he's the founding father of Greek philosophy, Socrates portrayed as hugely pessimistic about democracy. In the book Six of the Republic, great book, Six of the Republic, Plato describes Socrates falling into conversation with a character called Adeimantus and trying to get him to see the flaws of this whole business of democracy. I told you this before. Yes, Bible approves the democracy, but Socrates, he's ambivalent about it. By comparing a society, the whole society, he's comparing it to a ship. If you are heading out on a journey by sea, ask Socrates, who would you ideally want deciding who was in charge of that vessel? Just anyone or people educated in the rules and the demands of seafaring? The latter, of course, says Admetus. You just want the in charge of that ship, very wise and understanding people who knows how to go on this sea, obviously. So then, why then, responds Socrates, do we keep thinking that any old person should be fit to judge who should be a ruler of the country? Socrates' point is that voting in an election is a skill and not a random intuition. Intuition. Now, exactly what Socrates is saying, that the person, he should be really fit and he should be really understand that the person he's voting for, because he's making that person in charge of that ship for now, for your families, and for the future to come. And the Bible is saying the same thing. Bible is saying exactly what Socrates, he's ambivalent about, that you should choose the wise and understanding people among you, understanding and very knowledgeable people who understand exactly how this thing is happening. Now, if you look at the government, the whole government, American government, the way the American government is set up, our democratic system is set up, so we have the hierarchy. The government is just our federal government. Then we have about 50 other states and the governors. And then we have tens and thousands of local local governments, and that's how the whole system is set up. Now, my thing is this: what is the sense that our leaders, they can affect our life? They can affect our life through having these economic policies and through the social policies. I'm your host, Dr. Coker, very well qualified to talk about it. Okay, so I can, just like I'm just analyzing through the biblical lens, those policies, these leaders, they will just come and implement on you after you elect them through your democratic response, voting them, bring them in the office, that how that would affect your life. So now it's just like we're just going to go through exactly how the government works. And I know this is just going to be hopefully you will learn a lot of things, how your government runs, and you vote wisely on it according to the Bible. Now, your government can do three things. Okay, three things your government can do. I mean, there are a lot of other, but economic, when it comes to the economic policy issues, they can do three things. They can tax you, they can spend money, and they can regulate. So these are within like three spheres, the government pretty much runs to hold this economic policy, which may affect your life. So now this in itself is not an easy task. If you say, that this government come and just like tax and they can do this, but if the government, your government would come and tax you, okay, they just come and they tax you, and a lot of people, they cannot pay the tax, what's going to happen? It's going to kill the jobs, and by killing the jobs, the government system will just fall on its face. Then the other thing the government they can do, they can spend money. They can take money from someone else and they can spend that money. And they cannot spend the money in thin air. Okay, so don't think there's a government. They can just go and they can just like probably spend money. They can print money or they can spend. That does not work that way. I mean, I do not have time to tell you, that it will run the inflation through roof, but they cannot. In order to spend, it's just like your household. Okay, so just like your household, the tax is the dollar. The government, they just take, it's just like their revenue stream, it's just like their job. So they can take the tax from you, and expenditures are, they can spend. And the regulations is just like probably in your household, you have to live within some certain rules and regulations so you can keep running your household. Exactly the same way the government is running. Now, tax, now they can spend money, on the different variety of programs. But if they spend more, then they tax the people. What's going to happen? It's just going to be a budget deficit. And that budget deficit would hurt us all. And sometimes, have you heard this? The government is just running into this deficit. Our government is just like, we are just like, oh, lot of debt. And that debt is just like the government is just like when they spend more, then they collect the tax. So what do? They sell more bonds, and those bond holders could be you, me, and the foreign governments. And those bonds, so the way they're just doing this, so they have to pay the interest on those bonds. You all know about that, right? So, and then they have to pay. And who is paying that? You. Because if that debt would just keep increasing, what the government has to do, the government has to, in order to, just like if you have a debt, what you going to do? You have to raise your income somewhere, and where the government, they make their money from, I told you, they make it money from the taxing people, right? So they have to make that money from somewhere, and then they will tax you. So you do not want our government goes in the debt either. So you just have to be very careful the way the government is spending that money, because that if not, so obviously they will tax you, or if they don't tax you, they just keep going into the deficit. So that's going to hurt you not now, probably later down the road. And you thought, the leaders, they're very easy from the government. It's not. Then the third thing I told you about the regulations. The regulation is the biggest part also in the government. The way the regulation works, that the governments, they regulate, I mean, if they regulate too much, what's going to happen? A lot of business, they cannot come on the horizon. And if a lot of business they cannot come on the horizons, there'll be no tax, and the tax stream will start. What's going to happen? It will start getting dry, correct? The revenue. So if they do not regulate it too much, so then what's going to happen? If they do not regulate too much, so what's going to happen? That the consumers, they don't get the good products, and there will be a chaos everywhere. So, and you thought that it is very easy to have a leader. The job is very easy. It's not. It's not an easy job. It is just like you're running your household, and but they have to be very careful what they do in these three things: the tax, they spend, and they regulate. Now, so one may tell. So obviously, so I would personally vote. If you ask me, who would you vote for, Dr. Cole? I would personally vote for the person who believes in the Constitution of USA. The originalist. Originalist means that he really believed in that Constitution of USA. This America is, you know why America is so great? It is because of its Constitution. And that Constitution is drawn in the principles of all Christian values. You, you know, and I hear it because a lot of people out there, they were just saying, oh man, when we set up the Constitution, it has nothing to do with the Christian values. Well, I don't believe that. Let me put this for you, and I'm just going to put this. This is called the Declaration of the States, Declaration of Independence. We hold this truth to be self-evident that all men are created equal. Do you see it is saying that all men are evolved equal in this? No, it is saying all men are created equal. So who is creating them? That they are endowed by their creator, who is God himself, with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, from driving from the Christian values, because this is, my brother and sisters, this is a historical truth that the 75% of these constitutionalists, they were the ordained pastors, created equal. So I would vote for the person who is originalist and who would just say that he wants to, who he believes in the American Constitution in its original form, the intent it was written. And the intention was the Christian values. Okay, now what you're going to ask me this question: what this Christian Constitution has to do with the spending, tax, and the regulations? Then you're going to ask me a question: what this Christian Constitution I'm so emphasizing upon has anything to do with the wise and understanding? I hopefully, you know, so you got this question in your mind so far set. What we started with, that choose wise, understanding, and respected men, because this is not an easy job to run, and you can drive your country into chaos if you do not have that understanding. And exactly, Socrates is ambivalent about it. Correct? That's exactly right. Now, the question I still have to answer: what the Christian Constitution has to do with the spend, tax, and regulations. Now, the Christian Constitution has to do, that Christian Constitution is talking about men created equal, really means, and this is the law of the land, that all men are created equal and everybody has the equal opportunity. Still, what is has to do with the tax, spending, and the regulations? I'm going there. Okay, just bear with me. Now, if you really think about this, all men are created equal. And when you come, I mean, I'm a foreigner in this country, and I'm an immigrant, sorry. I was an immigrant, and oh yes, I'm foreigner too. And immigrant, as an immigrant in this country, so when I just came here, I had an equal opportunity. I probably could not even got this equal opportunity in my own country. Because if you see the people all over the world, they come to America because of what? Because of the Christian Constitution. And that Christian Constitution is lied in the principle of all men are created equal and the equal opportunity. I'm getting there, you know, with the question I posed to myself. Okay, so bear with me. So all men are created equal. means the equal opportunity. So if you apply for a job and whenever you come here in America, sometimes peoples in their own countries that are doing good because the countries are divided into segregated into class system. India, this is Brahman, this is Shudra, this is Kshatriyas. And guess what happens? Can you live with your full capacity? No. The Christian value, you can live with the full capacity, and the people that come here and they becomes from zero to millionaire. Correct? Now, because they can live with their full capacity. And when the people live with the full capacity, guess what happens? Your GDP number, which is your gross domestic product, that goes up. And when your gross domestic product goes up, how the gross domestic product goes up? Because that person living at his full potential is producing more. And when it produces more, when you get the qualified candidate for that job, that person will create and produce more, which is good for his family, good for the community, and good for the country, because the whole production of the country would go up, your GDP would go up, and your standard of living is attached with what? With your GDP. Okay, so what's going to happen? Created equal opportunity for all, is going to be the tax revenues would go up. Correct? When the tax revenues go up, the government has more money to spend on what? The government has more money to spend on all the social welfare programs. People who are elderly, people who are probably sick, they cannot go to work, and this is just like morally we should support them. I'm not saying the people who are milking the system, because I'm going to talk about this in a minute about that too. But the people who are, yeah, and then you created when the opportunities, men are all created equal. When they live to their full potential, what's going to happen? The tax revenue would go up. And when the tax revenue would go up, you can have the spending money. And guess what? If you are rooted in the Christian values, my brothers and sisters, your regulations, so less regulations mean more businesses creations. And when you create more businesses, what's going to happen? The tax revenue would go up for your government. Great job. So do you think you need a leader like this, who understand all these things, how the whole system is working, and who can put all these things into the Christian perspective? Now your government has, just like you have mortgage, right? So you have mortgage and you have other bills, so there are like probably 2 or 3 leading bills. So government has this like 2 or 3 leading bills too. The leader has to understand that too. The leading bills for any government is, number one, for American government, I'm just going to not any government, for American government is the Social Security. Social Security, they're paying the Social Security. Great idea. So Social Security, number one. Number two, the defense budget. Number three, they're spending on what? They're spending on the interest they are loaning from you and from the foreign governments, probably. In the case of bonds, correct? So that's how, so these are the 3 biggest expense. So you need to understand that the person who is your leader, it's not an easy job. He needs to understand where to pull, where to go, how to put things around. And if he does not understand, or if she does not understand, so I'm telling you, so you are sending the wrong person in, and the policies they're going to make is going to crush you. Okay, now let's talk about, so this was the economic, and then I'm just going to talk about the social issue. And there are a lot of variety of social issues. I'm just going to talk about one, which is the poverty. And we're going to talk about the poverty today. And the poverty, if you just really see it, the people stuck in the poverty are most of the people they're on welfare. I'm not saying the welfare has anything wrong with the welfare. Great idea, so government, they should provide, because we are the land of opportunity. In the land of opportunity, a lot of people we have in abundance, and people living, the less fortunate people, we should provide them. There's nothing wrong with this. But what's wrong with the welfare is this, that if our leaders do not provide opportunity for these people to come out of poverty, that is the problem. Or they probably do not even understand how to do this. Then that's a problem. And I know this, but I know that only way you can do is through the Christian Constitution again. There's no other way. Don't try to be just like you can do this or you are smart or anything. No, you are not. Okay? So if you just want to think that you can do, I mean, if you have any like a policy issue and you just want to talk, you want to come on my program, just talk with me. And I'm just going to tell you that you do not have a plan for the people to come out of poverty either. Only plan is the Christian constitution, and this the topic will just go longer and longer. I just want to drag it. But at the same time, if you are on welfare, so you want to pick a leader who really understands the Christian constitution. The reason is this: because you do not want to stay on welfare, because staying on the welfare, it is not good for you, for your family to come, and for the future generations, because this is a land of opportunity. You are missing out of the opportunity. And if some leaders comes to you and they would just promise you moons and star to give you a check, don't buy that. Ask them, show me the opportunity. Show me the opportunity for my area. Show me the opportunity for my community, because I am not interested in that check. I am interested in that opportunity which God has provided you, which God really means for you. I'm just going to go to Proverbs. It's saying, "Go to the end, O sluggard, consider her ways and be wise. Without having any chief officer or ruler, she prepares her bread in summer and gathers her food in harvest." What does that mean? You are the opportunity. You yourself, yes, you are. You are the leader of your house. You are the opportunity. And it's yourself. You know, keep at work, keep moving forward. Do not, the people, the leaders, they offer you just like short term, any kind of resolutions. Do not buy that. Do not lose your faith. Keep moving forward. Now, anything, if the leader is not embracing any Christian values, don't embrace that leader, because he does not have any vision. I'm telling you, because there's only one answer. People all over the world, they're leaving their own countries and they're running towards those Christian values. They tried it and they could not succeed. Their leaders, they have tried it and they could not succeed, because there is no other way. Because the blessings flows through Christian and Judaic values only. So if you are not rooted in the Jewish and the Christian values, I do not know how else you can be blessed, because the blessings flows from our Christ alone. Now, with this, I'm just going to go one more. This is the Deuteronomy 8:7-9. It says, "For the Lord thy God bring thee into a good land, and the land of brooks of water, of fountains, and that spring out the valleys and hills." Now, what is this promised land? My brothers and sisters, you are the promised land. You are that opportunity, because you are in itself are the promise of God. Just go out there and live your life at fullest. Don't settle for less. Don't settle for the people who do not embrace Christian values. God bless you all, and thank you very much. And thank you very much for listening. Bible Explains It All by Dr. Coker. Thank you. God bless you. Bye.